You're not eating more salad than I am, are you?
No.
Yeah, that's why it's not the, you'll, I know you are. No, I didn't know. Actually, I can do.
Too many choices here.
So, yeah, just write your initials. So I know who I'm voting. Here you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put that right.
This looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was my second choice.
Sure.
Oh, that's interesting.
Hey, Fred.
It's still less.
All right, thank you.
I'm telling you, this time is $18.
Ridiculous.
It's outrageous. Spend the same money. Make us happier.
I've been buying the salad. Bless me.
All right, can you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, March 26th, a little after 7:30. We just came from executive session where we discussed committee appointments. The first item on our agenda is a report from INF Associates regarding electric vehicle chargers. Please.
Thank you. First, let me say this is highly intimidating. I don't know if you realize it as being the people that are sitting up there, but not in this kind of a court-like session very often. But I'm glad to have been invited here. So.
Well, we have no authority to send you to jail, so don't worry. You can take a deep breath.
My colleague Chris here,
But we can effectively
I have a
recommend.
lot of parking tickets over my lifetime.
Greg, you may want to leave the room then. That's our police chief.
Yeah, please.
I gotta go. Than I thought. Well, most of them were in large amounts, so of course.
Doesn't count.
Anyway, so Greg, is this?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes.
All right. So Greg had invited us here to talk to you about a proposal that we have in front of the town for electric vehicle charging stations, in particular for level 3 charging stations, also called DC fast chargers. So that's what we'll be talking about, but a little bit of the background first, real quick. So we are INF Associates. INF is what we call a building and transportation decarbonization company. We are in the business of helping commercial building owners, municipalities, schools of all shapes and sizes to make their buildings more energy efficient and to increase the number of EV charging stations that are across the nation. So we call that transportation decarbonization. And we do everything from the initial consultation and advisory services to the actual installation and maintaining of all of equipment, whether it be in a building for energy efficiency or whether it be an EV charging station. My name is Jeff Rosenzweig. I'm an account executive, business development manager, both tending to customers on the building side and on the transportation side. With me is Chris Willard. Chris is my boss and the director of sales, and he knows a lot about the EV market and the EV charging stations in general. So he's here to kind of back me up and answer a lot of the questions that I might not be able to answer. So a little bit about INF. I just told you generally what we do. We have a contract with Westchester County, and that contract is in conjunction with a very large electric vehicle charging station manufacturer called Flow, F-L-O. So the contract is between INF, Flow, and Westchester County for the provision of level 2 charging stations to all municipalities throughout Westchester. That's how we first came to meet Chris and Greg and Michael. And Rybrook is one of, as of now, 18 Westchester municipalities that are taking advantage of that program and that have committed to purchasing and installing level 2 charging stations throughout the towns, throughout the villages, throughout the cities of Westchester. So that's how our relationship began. We also talked about doing some work to do energy analysis or energy audits in some buildings throughout town. That has not come to fruition yet, but we're still talking about that. And what we're here for specifically today is to discuss a new opportunity that we brought forth to you, which is the provision of fast chargers, or DC fast chargers, or DCFC stations. So what has already been contracted and is going to be installed in the town is level 2 stations. Kind of the next level of a fast charger is, and by the way, for your needs, for the most part, thus far the level 2s are more than adequate, and those are what are being installed throughout most of Westchester. DC fast chargers are a level up, and they enable most vehicles to charge in a time period of between 40 minutes. So often used by electric vehicles that are traveling long distances. I don't know if any of you own an EV, but most EV owners are map out in their journey where they may be stopping for where those EV chargers exist, and therefore may stop there along their route. It might be at a convenience station, it might be here in town, wherever it might be. So quite often used in those types of situations, also often used by fleet vehicles, police cars, any other types of vehicles that kind of need to get in and out very quickly. So INF has a sister company, and I'm kind of going off the book here. We have a formal presentation, but I'm kind of getting to the point. INF has a sister company called Current Charge. Current Charge acts as an owner and operator of these DC fast chargers, which means Current Charge owns the chargers, we install the chargers, we maintain the chargers. We're in essence leasing an area from you on which those chargers are going to be installed, and we assure that they're up and running 100% of the time. If they're not, it's on us to make sure they are. And we offer all of that at no cost. And the reason we're able to offer that at no cost is for two particular reasons. One is we are receiving incentives from the utility and from the state that, in particular for DC fast chargers, make it particularly attractive to purchase and install them. And number two, we're offering a revenue share, or we are offering a revenue share to the town, and it's the portion of that revenue share that's maintained or obtained by Current Charge that helps us pay for the servicing and the maintenance of those charging stations over time. So it's sort of the equivalent of a vending machine, that you might rent and put in a building. That's kind of the easiest way to think about it, I think. Is that, you're giving them permission to put that in there. You may or may not have a cost share plan with them, but it's providing a service to the people throughout the building that want a snack. It's a sort of similar situation here. You're offering that through Current Charge. It allows you to offer that charging service to residents, to non-residents that are looking for looking for that charging station, and to also at the same time obtain some revenue from that as a business. So that's what Current Charge is offering, and that's what we're here to talk about today. And Greg thought it would be a good idea to come and explain that and answer any questions that you all might have as it pertains to Current Charge and the features.
And just to bring this home a little bit, so one of the questions there is, when we were looking at this issue, we went back and forth a lot about level 2 versus level 3, and which would meet the needs. And partially based on cost, there was the level 3s at that time were going to cost, there's a big upcharge for it. Now with the incentives, the landscape has changed. So one of the questions is, I'm assuming that the level 2s then could be upgraded to level 3s in this program if we went in this direction. Is that correct? Or not?
That's
Yes.
correct.
So that's
Now,
really the decision of the board, if they want to do that and/or do it for any other municipal fleet or anything else they might want to do.
That's right. And whether or not it's more or less appealing to you to be the owner,
Mhm.
or
Or lease it to,
or basically have us be the owner
yes.
and lease that area. That's right. There's also, it also may or may not be a function of how you could charge for that charging, if you're capable or desiring to do it,
Mhm.
as the town, as the village. And if you cannot or don't want to, for whether it be by law or because it may not necessarily appear, to the residents, as though you're doing the best thing for the residents, then it might be best to have, it might make more sense to have a third party do that.
Okay. Sure. So
So
why don't you go
revenue,
through it?
the reason being, the revenue component, the revenue model is really what makes that work, makes the whole program work. So you sort of need to have the ability to charge enough to make up for the ongoing costs of a DC fast charger, because they're not cheap. The incentives are not going to cover.
Okay, so maybe you should go through you're going to go through the presentation or not?
Sure. So about INF. So a couple of things to know real quick about INF is we are a source well. We have a source well contract, which enables you to not go out to bid if you didn't want to, and you could utilize source well for that, or kind of piggyback on the source well contract. In the box on the right are really some accolades. It's an example of some of the things that we've achieved. We're a certified participating contractor with over 30 utilities throughout the country. We are national in scope. We are a NYSERDA, New York State Energy Research Development Authority, authorized partner. We've installed a ton of EV ports nationally, and we are, in that regard, Con Edison's #1 installer in the Con Edison territory of electric vehicle charging stations. We're also, oddly enough, Con Edison's #1 installer of LED lighting fixtures and LED lighting controls. And as I said before, we have the Westchester County contract for the installation of, not for these, but for the provision of charging stations throughout the county.
What is DAAS?
Decarbonization as a service.
So what decarbonization is it's a term that really means that's our primary business. So decarbonization of buildings, decarbonization of vehicles on the road, and everything associated with it. It also, in some circles, refers to the financing of equipment based on the energy savings that derive from energy efficiency measures that are undertaken. This is an example of what we call our turnkey approach on the electric vehicle side. So we literally do everything associated with the installation of a charging station, from from start to finish. It always starts with a site assessment where we're working with you to determine where the best location is for those charging stations, which type of charging stations they should be, what the usage is of them, the distance to the nearest power source, things like that. That's what encompasses the site visit or the site evaluation. We design, we engineer, we procure and supply the charging stations, we maintain them over time, and probably most importantly, we manage the entire process for securing the rebates and the incentives from the utility and from the state to help pay for the stations. This just emphasizes the markets that we're in. As I said before, commercial office buildings, multifamily, residential, retail, hospitality, and MOSH's municipal schools, universities, etc. And the use case, by the way, is different for each of these types of institutions. For example, like a Target or a Stop and Shop are most interested in bringing business to their stores, so they want to attract shoppers, and one way to attract shoppers is to install charging stations and make sure that those charging stations are publicly accessible and publicly visible on the apps that are available where drivers could find the nearest station.
Sure.
And they're also much more interested in a revenue model than most others are, right? So not only they want the shopper there, but they may want to maybe not charge the shopper for the first half an hour, but once you're there for an hour, start upcharging. Or if a driver is really using the parking lot as overnight parking and they're not shopping, putting an extremely high price on charging. Even if you're not charging, but that plug is in your vehicle, to make sure that driver is being charged during that time. So again, the use case is a little different depending upon the type of entity we're talking to. So we are hardware agnostic, and what that means is we don't care, we don't have a preference as to which manufacturer of charging stations you're going to install. It happens to be that with our Westchester County contract, that's specific to Flow charging stations. If you wanted to receive those stations at the particular pre-contracted price, that doesn't mean that you only need to install Flow. You can install any of the other manufacturers, but you're not necessarily going to get that pre-contracted, predetermined price that's in our Westchester County contract with Flow. But if you said, there's one municipality we're talking to that is just very stuck on Tesla. They have a lot of Teslas in their town, and they think it's a stigma thing. So they want the Tesla above all else, as an example. So we can accommodate that as easily as any other manufacturer.
Are there any changes in these sites? I mean, when people use them, are they equal to all EV vehicles?
Generally speaking, yes. The major difference that can occur is, as we're talking about now, a level 2 charger versus a level 3 or DC fast charger. The conduit size, the electrical changes, so the engineering and design is different, and it's more called the infrastructure cost is
higher.
Greater for that.
Of course, but I mean to the user, to the person.
Can
that
any
is-
vehicle use any of these chargers?
Support.
Yeah, so any of these manufacturers can be used by any vehicle on the road, including even Tesla now is making universal chargers.
Right.
Adapters, right, or something, yeah,
In fact, not even the adapter, they're making chargers that are universal that can charge any vehicle.
any
now.
store, yeah,
Yeah,
good.
so in most of the vehicles, like even Teslas, if they need to use a charge point, an ABB, one of these other units, they have adapters to use a Tesla charger as well. So everything we install is universal and can charge any vehicle on the road today.
For either one,
Yeah, for either one.
okay, and the user feels that they're equal?
The user experience with Tesla is much different because it's plug and charge. A Tesla pulls into a Tesla station, you just plug the charger in, and the transaction happens automatically between the vehicle and the charging station. With these other manufacturers, what is going on now in New York State is they're actually starting to require much more strict requirements, ISO 151185 and Parts 20 and OCPP, these other technical requirements that New York State's requiring. These are the handshake agreements that Tesla offers to their vehicles. All these other manufacturers, ChargePoint, Flow, ABB, Blink, they're adapting to these new requirements in New York State. We're not quite there yet, but as those requirements go into place later this year, everyone will have to adhere to those standards in the industry. That's the biggest difference right now. Otherwise, they all work the same. You walk up to a charger just like a gas pump, you swipe your credit card, you tap your phone to pay, and you start your transaction, you put your plug into the car. The only difference is the Tesla station, it's pull the plug, put it in the car, and it automatically starts.
And they automatically bill you or something.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
they automatically bill you.
Yeah. Right, you have an account
In a
all
year's
set up.
time, all of them will do the same thing.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to know, because if one is different than the other, how do you choose who gets what?
Well, there are certain quality differences and there are certain software differences. So you have your hardware, which is the physical station, and you have your software that's in the station.
Because I would imagine that familiarity with the user is also part of the,
Yeah,
Issue?
like Westchester County, as an example, wants kind of a fluid, common experience throughout the county if they
which
can
makes
get
sense.
it, which is why they're really trying to install, flow everywhere. I think Westchester County, for the most part now, is probably most familiar with ChargePoint. And ChargePoint's a great, probably the largest, distributed station in the United States right now.
Mhm.
And there are a bunch of them that you'll see throughout Westchester. But Flow, for a couple of different reasons, was chosen by the county, and it's a very high quality, very, very durable product. They're manufactured, and they're a Canadian company. They're manufactured in Canada, and they stand up very well to like harsh winters. But also, it's a price point slightly better than ChargePoint. Like anything else, there's always a little bit of give and take. But some are
Okay.
just as equal quality and less cost. And then there are some subtle differences that may make a difference, like the cord. Is it a retractable cord, or is it one that's like going to lay on the ground if somebody doesn't put it back, up like a garden hose? And some other, features like that. But I would say the biggest is the software and what you can do with that software, right? All the tracking,
Okay.
queuing. You could, if you want to park at a particular station location, right, you can put into an app to notify you when that station becomes available, right? So you know when to pull up to it. And time of day use, the ability to change, as I was describing the situation before with the Target or the Stop and Shop, where based on a certain amount of time or the time of day, you want to change how you charge the customer. Right? Can you charge a customer $1 per kilowatt hour? Can you charge a customer a fixed price, dollar amount per hour or per minute? Things and a wider variety of
So we're in
options.
competition with all those stores also, is what you're saying.
It depends on where you put the charger, right? I mean, if you have it if you have it outside town hall, not necessarily. They're still really trying to attract shoppers more than anything else.
Yeah,
What did you mean by that?
For us, we're really just, this was a county program that had been offered. That's why we looked into it. The two places, if you remember from previous meetings, where we're going to be putting these are going to be
Parks.
here and at Garibaldi. Those were
That's
the
right.
two spots that we were looking at. 8 spots? 6,
8 here
8
and 4 there.
spots
Yeah.
and 4 spots.
8 spots is 4
4
chargers, 4 dual chargers. And down at
Right.
Garibaldi, it's
2.
2 duals.
Yeah, and this will be, and again, we're not making the decision tonight on, what
No,
exactly
I
we're
just
going
wanted
with.
to
We're just-
see if it would actually
It would,
be
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah.
it would make sense to do the fast chargers for
Well,
sure,
there's a
because that'll
different-
turn it around quicker for people, right?
But-
There is
well,
and there isn't. So you
I
got to
mean, I
really
think-
think it out. You have
Yeah.
to understand there's a different philosophy on both. And part of it is, and you'll go through this, but there was an interest in the level threes, so that's why we, now with the new incentives, we wanted them to come here and talk to the board and see what the options are. But just realize it's a different structure. They are gonna own, lease, and maintain
Okay.
the chargers, and we get a percentage that ranges between 1% and 10%, right? The other way,
Do you decide what the charge to the customer is at that point?
With your
They
input.
do.
yes, but it's ultimately your decision at the end of the day,
They
right?
do.
On the other way,
Or-
Right, it's a revenue model
Yep.
for us, which is how, you know, you.
to make back their
Yeah,
money.
go ahead.
Clarify,
Okay, understood.
Zero, in this model, you have zero out of pocket.
Yeah.
Literally zero out of pocket, right?
Well, we have zero
So-
out of pocket too also, don't we?
Correct.
Either way.
Well, only because of the Westchester County.
Yes.
Westchester County has another program, which is one where they're offering 50% rebate on the cost of the purchase and installation of charging stations. That's in addition to Con Edison incentives, and if you're eligible for it, NYSERDA state rebates.
The county's putting their own money into it as well.
Right.
That's
So
for
that-
us.
so
So,
that's what's
Okay.
making the-
so that there's a,
that's the
one model is
leasing
the
program.
leasing model that they own and maintain, and they're putting up the risk and the cost.
And that's for
So
the-
that's
for
their
the fast
revenue. They'll
ones.
get the revenue.
Right.
Okay.
For the majority of the revenue.
The other
The
one?
other one, the board sets the rate. You can charge, you can not charge, you can charge to break even, you can charge to make money. The rate is all set by us, but we do have to maintain those units after the warranty periods, I guess, that are on there, right? And
What
then
is the
we
warranty
would have to
period?
maintain it. So it's a different structure. You just have to be
Yeah.
comfortable with which one you prefer.
And do we have to sign an agreement that we have to keep you as the operator for a certain period of time? So what is that time frame?
The 10 years.
Yeah, so there's
10-year initial
two
term,
slides left to show you, and they're both on current charge. So, current charge designs, installs, owns, operates, maintains the stations. Current charge pays all of the operational costs, all the maintenance costs, all the installation costs. So it's going to be separately metered stations that will have the current charge name as the customer. So that's a big difference. So current charge is paying the electricity costs for those stations and the software and warranty and everything. But it's important to note that because current charge owns the stations, we also want to make sure that they're maintained and that they're working because it's our revenue source.
The name of the company?
So
Current charge.
we have a revenue split that we offer with you or with the customer that ranges from current charge getting 99% of the revenue in year 1 to current charge getting 90% of the revenue in year 10. So, and it's a 10-year term agreement.
And they submitted the proposal where you can see the details of how that stages up,
Yes.
which you have.
Yes, sorry.
And you have the ability to buy out, at any point to own the stations if you want. And again, because we paid for the stations and the stations are expensive,
How expensive
if
are
you-
the stations?
They're about $75,000 each.
Per dual?
Yeah. It's about a 7-8 year simple ROI. So a 10-year lease is about where you break even and start generating revenue.
And by then you'll need a new machine.
Yep. But then the infrastructure will be in place for you already.
Right.
And the technology is going to change.
now the technology might change, as
Yeah.
does most technology, but as Chris just said, the infrastructure in the ground is yours.
Yeah,
forever.
right.
To do level 3.
All right, a lot of information.
Yeah, David, did you have questions?
No, I think my questions have been answered. I gather that the level 3 charges are what you analogize to vending machines.
Correct.
Yes. Yes, because with the county, with the county program, with the level 2s, it
We
would
would
be, we would own, yeah.
So we would get all the revenue.
We would get all the revenue and we'd have to maintain.
Charge revenue.
Maintain. So what does the maintenance look like for What are the maintenance for both the level 2 and the level 3? I'm sure you have some data from existing machinery.
Yeah, absolutely. So our team actually does the maintenance on them. We have a full technician, licensed electricians that would come out and service those units. I mean, the things that happen most often are software issues on the back end, some firmware updates that can be handled remotely. Those are the typical issues. Every now and then there will be some sort of retractor cable maybe breaks. Someone didn't put the port back on the hook correctly and it got damaged, and that the port might need to be replaced. Maybe the screen cracked or something. But most of those pieces, when they're parts, are covered under the manufacturer's warranties that we typically purchase extended warranties from the manufacturers. And then we would have our team be the labor to replace those parts under warranty.
And this is level 2 or level 3? I'm sorry.
It would go for both. Typically with level 3 stations, any vendor, any developer or manufacturer you work with is going to require you to have a maintenance contract in place because of just the cost of the units, but also the requirement of the uptime of those units. Level 2 units, it's typically optional to have any sort of maintenance program in place. It's recommended, so that those units can be utilized by drivers and residents. But it is optional for those units if you want to have
And we should mention the unit for the level 3 is much bigger because it has more infrastructure in it too, but
That's correct.
it's a lot bigger piece of equipment than the level 2s.
Yeah.
No, they pay.
What do they have at Crawford Park? That's a level 2?
Yeah.
I have a
Yes.
I may not have understood something. Level 2, we own it, therefore it would make sense for us to get a maintenance contract. Level 3, you own it. Would we still have to have a maintenance contract?
No, we would have the maintenance contract ourselves.
you
We
would
would
have it.
maintain it ourselves
Okay.
in this model.
So there's no maintenance cost to us whatsoever?
No cost whatsoever. No.
Yeah.
Do you know the cost of the maintenance contract for a level 2?
Yeah, so we had already put that in front of you, I believe, but typically it is $250 per port per year for our preventative maintenance program, and that is just to come out and do annual health checks and make sure the station's clean and functioning properly. And then we have our tiered emergency service program, which is sort of the gold standard, where if anything were to happen, it's a 48-hour response time to get the team out to fix the unit, parts and labor included in that $750 per port a year rate in the emergency services.
Is that $750 in addition to the $250?
No.
So it's
That's
it's
the,
like
that's the
bottom
gold
lower tier
standard one.
250 preventative, and then like the gold tier 750.
Is this something that we can go and find another person to service it, or does it have to be through you?
No, you can definitely find others to do this. Manufacturers offer this, that they work with partners like ourselves to offer. You can use other local Westchester firms that do something similar to us to offer it. It's just part of our turnkey services, leveraging our source well contract that we have, but also our Westchester County
us money,
contract.
Right, it has to do also
No,
with
in-
that.
in
Costs us
theory-
money.
This is, remember, we're not doing this on our own. Remember, this isn't something that we're going out and doing. We're doing this as part of
Of
the
a county
county.
consortium.
No, I
Right.
totally
And
understand.
so
So they're
what you-
incenting us to do
we have to
this,
go. We have to go with what is provided in those.
but they're not providing
So-
it. You have to buy this separately.
Well, no,
This-
the maintenance you could do separately, but just realize, so what you would do is, in theory, if you
With
want
the level
if you
twos.
want to do at least break even on level 2s, you want to make sure you charge enough to at least cover your maintenance cost.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
The level,
But that has to do with the level 2s. What they're giving a presentation on right now are the level
Level 3.
3s,
So I'm trying to
which is
see.
a different county
No, I'm trying to
program,
figure out
which would be
one,
all inclusive.
comparing apples to
what
apples
you're doing.
here, what the cost
Right.
eventually is to us.
I think I
So-
could help clarify that a little bit.
Yeah.
So the proposal, the county proposal that we put in front of you and was signed is for level 2 charging stations. There was a 5-year maintenance, I believe, included in that, and 5-year software included in that. And that net cost to you came out to $0 for those level 2 stations, and that was because the county contributed 50% on top of the Con Edison incentives. So that, then, again, was for the stations and the installation and the warranty and the maintenance and the software, everything, start to finish.
Okay.
Now, the village could also own level 3 stations. You don't need us to come in as the owner-operator of level 3, switching the vernacular between level 3 and DC fast chargers. They're the same thing. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So
I
you
followed.
can as easily purchase and install and own yourself level 3 charging station. So I just wanted to make that
Yep.
clear.
Please note that is not in our proposed budget.
No.
Now, so what we're talking about now, separate from the level 2 proposal that was signed already, is this new opportunity for this new company that was created, Current Charge, to ourselves be the owner operator, right? If we are the owner operator, we're maintaining it, right? And everything else, because we want to make sure it's working, right? If it's not
Absolutely.
working, we're not making money, we're losing money on it. So we are in essence charging ourselves for the maintenance and the upkeep. But you have a maintenance agreement and that, like any other maintenance agreement for any other product, vary, in term and in price. So as Chris was explaining, but
Okay.
what you have signed is a 5-year.
If we had a level 2 charger now, would it be possible at some point in time to switch to level 3?
No.
No. No, so the infrastructure is quite different. Just the voltage in which the chargers run. Level 2 chargers operate on 208, 240 volt single phase power, and level 3 chargers typically run on 3-phase 480 volt power. So much higher power, higher voltage. So to change the infrastructure from 208, 240 to 480 is quite the endeavor, actually. Bigger conduit size, bigger
You
wire
have to go
size.
and redo it.
The utility probably has to bring in bigger power size. It's
And
quite different.
and you still have to complete the evaluation that we could do the level 3s at the no cost, right? You still want to do a little bit more review of the
Vocation.
whether or not you need a transformer, right, and anything else. You still need to
We would
complete that
need to
review.
run the engineering through
Yeah.
Con Edison and determine,
Yeah.
that they can bring the power to the location to support it.
Right.
And then determine they call customer
So
side
we-
infrastructure.
We have the approvals, we have all the reviews done for level 2. We would have to just see if the board want to go with level 3s, if the infrastructure can handle it.
Yeah. The utility has an obligation to bring power to site if requested. It's just a matter of when and how they would be able to do it.
Right.
And in terms of timing, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, level 3s could happen pretty quickly. But the level 2s, you're in a queue with other Westchester County municipalities. Is that correct? Anytime between this year and next summer is my recollection?
There's a lot of little caveats to that. The level 2 stations can happen. I would say timeline is probably very similar. The level 2 stations, the delay we're waiting on is the approval from the utility for funding and Westchester County for their cost share funding that they're offering in order to move forward into construction, right? The level 3 side, yes, we could move forward because we would be the ones putting the investment in. The delay on that side would be the utility bringing power to site.
Got it.
So
Others.
that could be 12, 24 months. We don't really know until we start talking to the utility.
Understood.
I have one last question. As far as charging, the cost, just so I have a comparison, what does somebody usually charge their customers for one? Because we have to decide on revenue.
So we'll separate this into two pieces. With the level 2 charging stations, I've been working with the city of White Plains for quite some time on this, as well as we're rolling out about 100 level 2 chargers across their municipal garages. The way they set their rate structure is the same as their municipal garage hourly rate structure. They want to match it, whether you're parking a gas vehicle or an electric vehicle, you're going to get the same charging rate. Others have done curbside parking, and they'll match the same rate as the meters on the curbside. But there really is no restriction or set legislation to determine how you want to price it. A lot of times we help our clients determine the charging for charging rate by doing market analysis of other local chargers and seeing what the sort of median rate is for those chargers in that area. And there is a threshold, right? Just like a gasoline.
Right,
if
of
it's
course.
$2.50 on one side of the street and it's $3 on the other, where are you going to go, right? You're going to go to probably the cheaper one. So there is a threshold with electric vehicles as well, but we can help you determine those rates. On the level 3 charger side, it is a higher cost often because you are getting more power and you are getting a faster charge, so you are paying a premium for that. It can vary. It's a wide range. It can be by kilowatt. It can be by time, session, but typically any driver that pulls in, let's say with a 20% battery and charges up to 80%, they're probably paying anywhere from $15 to $20 for that electricity. So we can also help determine what those rates might be for level 3 chargers as well.
How do you guys determine the rate for when you guys, because ultimately you set the rate on the level 3s. How do you go about that?
It's a very similar approach. A market analysis, look at resources like plugshare.com, determine what other charging rates are in that
One?
vicinity.
I'm sorry, what is the website?
Plugshare.com. Ultimately for us, we want to be competitive as well, right? We don't want to lose charging revenue or utilization on the chargers because the model is set too high, and you can go down the road and Target is setting the rate at free. So EV drivers are going to go to where they're going to get the best cost, as any of us would, right? So we want to be competitive with what the market can dictate.
And just so the board, the one thing that we've talked about is you may or may not, but you may get drivers coming off traveling on the Hutch, since this is a location. If it's less than some of the rest stops, this is close enough
If
that
it was a level
they
3.
might go to the level 3 charger here if the price was comparable or less, I guess, than the rest stops. So obviously, from a revenue standpoint, that's good. But just be aware, there may be a little bit more, some more cars amount that would come into the parking lots.
And is the price to every person that is thinking about changing to level 3 the same? Are you changing any of them, or is it a set price?
For the charging, it's likely that we would tier the charging models where during the daytime where there's peak utilization and higher energy costs, charge a higher price. We'd have to do some analysis on what the Con Ed rates are in this area and determine what the peak price periods are in this area to sort of set those rates. There's also time of use rates for overnight charging. So if someone were to come and plug in at 10, 11 o'clock at night, but they need a quick charge, we could potentially lower the rate at that time of day so that they can get a better price on charging for charging.
There is also the software that allows you to charge different rates for different people.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if that's what you're.
No, but that's interesting. How does that work?
For example,
And why?
School,
Yeah.
right? They may want to charge administrators, teachers a low rate, whereas anyone else in the public a higher rate. As an example, in the village or town, same thing, right? You will have the option of, or can have the option of, based on an access code, right?
Got it.
To the station.
There were a lot of ways to interpret my question. I guess my question, and I'm glad that you actually went through that, and I appreciate it because it's opening up a whole new world. But the other issue is tier 3 cost. You are funding the entire cost on your own, but I would imagine as time goes on, the cost may come down because you're doing so many. Will that change at all? The cost?
We really view it on a site-by-site, project-by-project basis. And as time goes on and perhaps the cost of the charging station itself it drops, we could offer a different model. Just right now, we try to offer the best possible proposal with what the market has.
Got it. Right, because I don't see 1% revenue as an incentive.
You mentioned the level 3 prices are higher because of the fast charge. If it might be an unfair question, but is there any average you could say is 50% higher, 5% higher? Is there any, how much higher is it? I guess because I don't have an electric vehicle, I'm trying to understand how much higher would a fast charge be?
Yeah, it's a lot of level 2 charging happens at either like at the workplace during the workday over a 6-8 hour period of time, or oftentimes overnight in a multifamily or single family home setting. And it really is on energy bill reflections for a lot of those. Whereas fast charging is more destination and corridors and whatnot. It's hard to say exactly, but it can be anywhere from maybe a level 2 charger you're paying $5 to $10 for energy for a charge up, whereas a level 3 maybe somewhere between 15 to 25.
For the same amount of output?
Yeah, it's really just about peak demand and
Time.
because as you scale up output with your energy, you're also paying more in energy costs to the utility because of the peak demand that's being delivered, right? Your utility is going to charge you higher service and demand rates when they're giving you more energy. So when your costs go up, your cost to consumer has to go up as well.
So a 5 to 10 on an average daytime high usage time period, the equivalent of a 5 to 10 might be a 15 to 20. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, don't hold me to it.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to get a
But
sense of scope.
yes,
A sense of scope.
There's a lot of variables, right? What
Yep.
type of vehicle is it? How fast can the vehicle charge? What is the need of the battery of that vehicle?
Yeah.
The charger. What's the
Understood.
output of the
Lot
charger?
of conditions on that. I get it. I'm just trying to get a
Yeah.
understanding
Ballpark
of
sort
it. Yeah.
general, yeah.
Thank you.
Also, if you think you're gonna cater to the long haul driver, right, you may wanna set a price that becomes comparable to filling a gas tank up, with gasoline. That's another way.
Yeah.
You may know what your dollar per kilowatt hour cost is for the utility, right? So you may just wanna take that number and jack it up a little bit, so that you're not necessarily in the revenue game, but you're just covering your costs. So
One
there are
more
different
question?
ways.
Yeah, please, go right ahead.
One more question. So we have, say we were looking to get the 4 dual ports in front of Village Hall. Could you do 2 level 2 and 2 level 3? Or is the infrastructure different and that doesn't make sense?
You can, yeah. Currently, with what we have under contract, it's not possible. We could revise that. And we would have
Just
to.
trying to, it's an
we-
option.
Our engineers would have to revise the design. We'd have to go back to the utility and request more power. And then on the customer side infrastructure, you would need transformers to step down 480 volt to lower
okay.
voltage to supply to the level 2 chargers.
Got it.
Or vice versa, you would need a step-up transformer to supply power to the level 3 chargers.
Okay.
But there would need to be some site design considerations revised.
Thank you.
All right.
All right,
Any other
a
questions?
lot of information.
Yeah.
Yes, very
Yeah, and
helpful, thank
We'll
you.
probably be looking to put this on as an agenda item at our next meeting,
Okay,
so that at least
Can have-
because the sooner the sooner we make the decision, the sooner we get into the county's
Queue.
queue.
of course.
It's something, if we decide level 2, so, it's something that we wanna just
Move on.
move on, yeah, while the program is also still available. While both
We've already signed all
programs-
the contracts with the county, so we're good to go there.
Yeah,
It's just,
Oh, so
but
we're in the
we are
queue
getting
already?
bills though.
no, because we haven't made a
Just kind of been
decision
sitting
on
with
what
them,
we're
yeah.
gonna do.
But Condon still needs to be contacted.
Right now, I've just kind of
regardless.
put everything on hold, not knowing.
Getting on the queue for installation and everything else,
Okay,
so,
thank you.
all right.
Since you're the mayor and since I'm here in front of you right now, I want to make you aware of one thing before we leave. You may already be aware of this, but going off topic a little bit. NYSERDA, the state, has begun a program called the Clean Green Schools.
We have no control over the schools
That
in
I'm not
Rutland.
going to say anymore.
But we are
We have-
all
But we can
taxpayers.
certainly share that information with the school board.
Next time you're out for a beer with the superintendent, I got some stuff for you to tell.
All right, clean green schools.
Clean
Already
Green
out.
Schools,
There you
can
go.
you
Greg's on.
send it
Greg's
to us and we'll be
there.
happy
Can
to
certainly
forward
share
it.
that information with
That's
the
right.
school staff and
Greg already
school
has.
board. Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Greg has
yeah.
been
They don't
awesome.
even have to follow village code when they're doing construction projects.
Really?
So
And
that's
they
correct.
need help, they
It's
really
in
need
all
help.
of New York State. Well, except for the cities. The cities have control over the schools.
Well, anyway, shout out to Greg, who's been awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
So just to recap, we're looking to make, hopefully, potentially we'll have a decision after the next meeting,
Okay, super.
which is April 9th. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to resolution number 1. Consider a request for an exemption extension of chapter 158, section 2.1 of the village code regarding a seasonal leaf blower ban for Doral Greens HOA.
Whereas on April 2023, the Board of Trustees approved a local law enacting a seasonal gas-powered leaf blower ban from May 1st through September 30th, effective May 1st, 2024. And whereas under the code, properties with at least 5 acres can apply for a full or partial exemption or extension of the local law. And whereas the application has been distributed to the properties that are eligible for that particular, to request an exemption or extension. And also information's been on our website. And whereas on February 2024, representatives of Doral Greens HOA submitted an application for an exemption for the requirements of the local law requiring a seasonal ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. Now therefore be it resolved that after consideration of the intent of the local law as well as the considerations raised in the application from representatives of Doral Greens HOA, the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby either denies, approves, or approves with conditions the request for an exemption of the village code enacting a seasonal leaf blower ban for Doral Greens HOA.
Thank you, Chris. And I believe we have representatives from Doral Greens. Please.
Thank you very much. My name is Russ Jelinek from Guy Shores and Jelinek.
Bless you.
I'm so sorry.
On behalf of Doral Greens, I have with me this evening Luigi Borello from Mario Borello Landscaping, as well as Elizabeth Huthwaite from Prime Locations Management Company. And since I don't think it's the intent to hear me give legal arguments, I will turn it over to our landscaper to explain what steps he's prepared to make in order to try and comply as much as he can with the law and also satisfy the concerns of the board.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Luigi Borello. I'm the owner of Mario Borello Landscaping. We've been working at Doral for probably close to 30 years. We take care of other properties in Rye and Larchmont, and they have this law already. So we did purchase battery charge back blowers. So we are using already a lot less gas-powered blowers. So we did our spring cleanup already at Doral, and we did use the battery charge blowers. The biggest difference obviously is with the noise, but it took us a little bit longer to clean the property. And the guys are using, excuse me, the rake, the hand rake more, so they're not too happy about that, but they understand that's what we need to do, and that's what we've done so far. I don't know if you guys have any other questions or.
I mean, that's, to me, that's great to hear. Our legislation actually is only effective from May through
Yes.
the end of, so that's great to hear. I guess the question is, what's your intention during the season when this law is applicable?
Well, the biggest part we would use the gas blowers is in the spring, because that's when it's really dirty. We have the branches, the leaves, and in the fall. But once the season goes out, the property is nice and clean, and we're on the property once a week. So we plan on using it even less. Plus, the gas prices are still through the roof, so I have no problem with it using the battery charge blowers.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be using the electric blowers, then you don't need an exemption.
Well,
It's
if we could get the exemption, obviously, it'll be faster, quicker for us to use it, clean the properties, especially in the spring and the fall. That's when we really need the exemption. Just for the spring.
You have the,
If I might step in for
please.
you might have that ability.
As set forth in the application, the proposal is to reduce the number of gas blowers that are being used from 4 to 2 during the season where the law is applicable. Also to use the battery packed blowers for driveways and walkways, and also to try and incorporate the use of other electric devices like lawnmowers and trimmers during the season in question, in order to try and do as much as we can to comply with the law, but still also try and manage costs for the homeowners association. And we're also, as time progresses, we're looking to try and integrate more, a greater use of the electric devices, and as time goes on, hopefully eliminate the use of gas blowers. Obviously, that's down the road, but we look at this as an incremental thing starting with this year, and my understanding is that there's potential for a partial exemption or whatever conditions the board feels is appropriate. We're certainly willing to comply with. We want to work with the community and at the same time be mindful of the fact that just to completely eliminate the gas blows during the peak season would, as I'm sure you've heard before, involve a significant increase in costs for the association, which would be obviously somewhat of a hardship.
Yes, and we have heard that. I think we've had a number of applications come before us, and given that you're operating in Ryan Lodge, other communities that have these this legislation in place, certainly puts you at an advantage because you're already investing in the technology needed to conform to the legislation. So I think for me, it's heartening to hear that. And I guess my question would be whether you'd be willing to put some of those conditions into the resolution itself of reducing to the two, using only electric on some of the hardscape areas. I think you said walkways and driveways.
I have
I
a,
know you were taking
and
notes.
can you
so-
share with
That's
us
it.
what you have, what machinery you have that you're actually pleased with?
We have
I'd say two
the
years,
I think so.
battery charge backpack
Yes,
blowers.
brand.
I don't know the exact brand, but we bought 2 from Home Depot. We bought a couple from Argento and Son, but we do have them.
All right. No, and it's, yeah. I mean, this is, to me, this
Going in the right
represents
direction.
a
This is what we're
fairly
trying to do.
significant reduction from
Yeah.
some of the other applications. I'd be almost inclined to do 2 year on
Yeah.
this one because
Yeah.
because of setting the example.
This one.
I'd still stay with 1 year.
Okay. All right. I guess, are you comfortable with having those conditions in the exemption? That it's a reduction from 4 to 2 and the use
Why don't you
of
just say in half, because this way,
in half.
if you add more, delete, whatever
Yeah,
you need,
yeah.
50% of the units would be electric.
I think it would be disingenuous to have it in our application as a proposal and then not
Yeah.
Not have it in the.
to comply with that. So we would certainly be willing to make
All
that
right,
a
so, Raul, I'll leave that to you.
Okay.
How we want to put it in, or Chris?
Yeah, we'll just take a shot at it and then we'll clean it up. But basically, I'll just indicate that
True.
Yep. that
Right.
therefore be resolved that if consideration of the intent of the local law as well as the considerations raised in the applications from Doral Greens HOA, the Village of Rybrook hereby approves with conditions the request for an exemption enacting a seasonal leaf blower ban for Doral Greens through through October 1st, 2024, which will get you another year, just realized, with the following conditions that electric blowers are used on the driveways and walkways, and that 50% of the gas blowers be electric.
The blowers, not gas.
The gas
Yeah,
blowers be
the
electric.
blowers, right.
The gas blowers be, the blowers be electric.
Sound
Well,
right?
no, I think we're only dealing with with the blowers.
I'm sorry, Your Honor?
Does that sound proper?
Yes, that was consistent with our proposal.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second,
So
please?
moved as
Second.
changed.
Any questions, comments? Sorry to make you have to wait so long through the EV charger. As you can see, we're very committed to, environmental causes here in Rybrook. We're trying to do our part.
It was very educational.
It's-
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments?
Nope.
Yes, no, I know.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 2, considering a request for exemption extension, Chapter 158, Section 2.1 of Village Code, regarding a seasonal leaf blower ban for CPW. I'm just going to shorten it. I hope you're okay with it. Chris has to read the resolution.
Yes.
Or do you not have to read the?
I'll just move down to the resolve clause because everything else is the same. We have an application from Cerebral Palsy of Westchester. Now, therefore, be it resolved that after consideration of the intent of the local law as well as the considerations raised in the application by representatives of Cerebral Palsy of Westchester, the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby either approves, denies, or approves of the conditions the request for an exemption in the Village Code enacting a seasonal leaf blower ban for Cerebral Palsy of Westchester.
Thank you, Chris, and we'll hold off on motions until we figure out what we're doing here. You do have a tough act to follow, where they're already starting
I
to.
know, I was gonna say, you
to-
guys start out with a little bit of a low blow here.
Yeah, so
Electric vehicle charging stations, and now I have to come out with a landscaper who needs a gas blower, right?
please.
So, we maintain Cerebral Palsy of Westchester. We've been there for several years. And we're looking for exemption from the ban because the property is 9 acres or so. And unlike the previous landscaper, our paved areas are larger parking lots. So it would be a lot more laborious for us to use electric blowers to blow off the lots and even the lawn areas. But we have been implementing electric blowers as well. We're mulching more with mowers, so we're trying to lessen all of it. And as far as me going with the technology, I want to go with it, but I just feel that battery-powered equipment has not reached where it's sustainable cost-wise yet.
Questions?
Bought
comments?
any?
I'm sorry.
Have you purchased any?
Yeah, you have some.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
2 years ago, actually.
Okay,
But
so what,
Scarsdale started it first, so.
But you purchased battery-powered blowers, any other
Big
battery
blowers.
equipment?
No, I haven't, because the cost is just it's too high. It doesn't, it's not effective, you know?
What do you do in Scarsdale?
Just residential homes, but we use electric blowers and we implemented the mulching on the mowers, so.
All right.
But, you know, residential homes are a little different than a commercial parking lot or a commercial building.
Right. Do you use any of the electric in concert with other equipment at CBW, or are you only using the gas?
Really just gas here.
And how often are you? I guess I get a couple questions. How often are you?
If we're not blowing the lots all the time, then maybe we will use electric just for a walkway or whatever, but
Right.
mostly,
Right. During that peak season, that kind of May through October, during the not leaf season, not spring cleanup season, but during the regular mowing season, how often are you servicing that lot?
well, we're there once a week. So.
You're there once a week.
And then you have to remember.
And how many guys do you usually have there?
Usually 3 or 4.
Okay.
But not everybody has a blower. You know, that I try to limit for sure
Right.
because of the noise. And we also don't have any residential neighbors there either, so.
Right, and I think part of it is noise, but a lot of what the intent of the legislation is really greenhouse gas emission and other aspects. My personal opinion on this one: this is the first nonprofit we've had come
Yes.
before us, and I think CBW has been a great neighbor and provides a great service to the community in our area, and so
what hours do you go there?
We usually go on Saturday mornings
Oh, when nobody's there,
when nobody's there.
I got you.
so the noise, right?
Yeah.
Well, they do have
Also, so there's no
they do have
cars in
people
the
that
lots, you know?
they do have some permanent residential there
Right.
as well.
Oh, they
but-
do?
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
Why didn't know
But
that?
they're in a house away from the buildings. But on Saturday mornings, there's no administrative people there. There are less people throughout the place as well, so.
So can I ask a question, a couple of questions? So we do have some commercial properties that have asked for exemptions, but they are starting to implement electric for their parking lot areas, like shopping centers. Actually, they've had to come in. So with some parking lot areas that is trying to do things on the electric. It's a little different with being not-for-profit, but do you do around the house where the permanent residential is?
Yes, we do.
Would, if the board, it was something the board or you could consider, would you, since that's more like a residential area, would you do electric around the house? Is that a consideration that you could consider?
If we had to, I would, but I prefer not to.
Well, I think the board's just looking for some type of effort
We want
to
something
move
back.
forward.
We want something
Not
back.
just gonna,
I would say to that
I
point,
gotta tell you, he is tough, this guy.
I would say, and I would just say to that point, I think, the writing's on the wall in the communities in Westchester.
Yes.
That a lot of communities in Westchester are starting to move towards this type of legislation. We're actually kind of slow, we're late to the table.
Right.
compared to some of our neighbors. And, you know, I think that it would behoove you to start to switch things over a little bit because, you know, while there may be an exemption granted for this year, there's nothing to say that that would be, you know, if we find that, you know, if it gets to a point where CPW is the only game in town left that's still using gas blowers, it would be very difficult for us to approve an exemption in the coming years.
Not only
So
that, he
given
has
that this is-
clients not in Rybrook where he's already had to convert.
Right. So given that you've seen what it's like working in other communities, you know, I think there's going to come a time when we will be granting no exemptions.
I was just going to say that I think you can assume that we can be generous now.
The
But
first
a year
year.
from now, if you come back and say, well, I'm still doing things exactly the way I did in March of 2024, I, for one, will be very reluctant to give you a second extension. I'm going to have to see something on your part that indicates you're moving towards our goal. If I don't see it, you will end up with a one-year exemption, end of sentence.
I understand. So we'll use electric around the house.
Okay.
The more
So
you
yeah,
use, the
that
more likely it is that
Yeah.
the future will be good to you. I don't know how much more I could be in terms of being blunt.
I understand.
You're blunt.
What does happen down the road, though, the consumer actually ends up paying for
Yes, yeah, unfortunately, you're right.
Correct.
Yeah, but
it, right?
Yes.
But I think, that's why the
Yes.
board's trying to be reasonable with the larger properties to
Right.
come up, but also send the message that they want to see efforts moving forward to become electric. Yep.
Right. And again, I
and
think
we-
that it's,
I'm sorry.
if a lot of the communities are around us are all doing the same thing, and this is a law within our community, this is really going to be that there's still going to be competition to, you know, for customers, and, you know, that there's you know, it's really going to become the norm.
And we maintain residential properties as well, so we're gonna be using them there in
Right.
Brook as well.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why we're thinking like around the house, maybe that's more like the residential because people
So
are
if-
living there.
You know, if you're willing, if you're okay with it, we're going to put that in the condition of the exemption, just that there will be electric used around the house. And it has to do only with the blowers and only from May through the
slow
end of September.
recovery. As you get old.
All right, so can did everyone
Yes.
hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I give a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
Yeah, for 1 year, yes.
1 year.
1 year.
Yes.
Great.
All right.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you.
And we'll reference that the house with the permanent housing.
Yes, we'll reference it.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Have a good night.
Resolution number 3, considering awarding contract 2402, residential sanitation collection services, including recycling, bulk trash, green waste, white goods, and bulk metal.
Yeah. Sorry.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook solicited bids for contract 24-02, residential solid waste collect services including recycling, bulk trash, green waste, white goods, and bulk metal. And whereas the bid was advertised in the Westmore News, and the bid opening was also made available on the Empire State Purchasing Group bid system. And whereas at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, March 20th, all bids were received were opened and summarized below. We only received one bid, which was from CRP Sanitation. And that is covering a 5-year period, which has been approved by the Westchester County Solid Waste District. And it's for the base bids range from $1,111,425.30 to in year 5, $1,432,715.34. Also, the monthly rear yard collection goes from 30, 30, 35, 40, and 40 over the 5 years. That's monthly. That's optional for residents if they so choose. And also there's a senior and military discount of 25%. And also there's an alternate 2 for the disposal of the street sweepings. That is basically $160 for the first 2 years, then $175 for the next 2, then $188, and that's the price per ton. And whereas upon review of the bids, the administrator and superintendent of public works determined the lowest bidder to meet all the requirements of CRP Sanitation. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby awards contract 24-02 residential collection services, including all the services we mentioned before to CRP Sanitation for curbside agreement for total bid price, and it's the total of all the years combined of $6,461,044.24, and also awards alternate 1 rear yard residential monthly cost and senior and military discount, and an alternate 2 disposal of street sweepings, all for a 5-year period starting June 1st, 2024. Be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are hereby authorized to sign and execute any documents necessary to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
2 quick comments, and then I'll open it up to comment from the board. First, I just want to thank the County Solid Waste Commission for allowing us to go into a 5-year contract. This was something unusual when we entered into the last contract, and it was because of the situation that we had encountered with our previous waste hauler.
You can only otherwise do it for 2 years,
For
which
2
is
years.
hard
So
to
how
get
did we get
competitive
approval for
bids.
5?
So this is
Because we had in the past, because of what happened with the last one,
Well, we've
where
done it-
they yanked the permit on our.
I remember that.
But
And
we've
so
also
we had to-
we usually have done like anywhere from 3 to 5, but it's recent. But you can only allowed to have 2 without their approval. But obviously, it's hard to get a competitive bid for 2 years when people
Okay.
are investing in the infrastructure.
Yes.
So you want to do a longer term
Okay.
to get better pricing.
Okay.
So we thank the County Solid Waste Commission for allowing us to do that 5-year because it does give us a more competitive bid. I'd also thank CRP Sanitation because I don't get any calls about.
I
Knock on wood.
I am.
Let's hope that we'll knock on wood, but this has been, I think, given what services that we've had in the past, I think the residents of Rybrook have been very satisfied with the service that's been provided to our residents, and I think certainly I haven't had issues personally as a resident, but it's it's something that I think, for good or bad, people have become used to of expecting a high quality, sanitation service, which I think they get through this contract. So, questions?
I would just add to the rear yard collection service is currently $35 a month, so it's actually $5 reduction for the optional rear yard collection service. So that is a $5 a month savings. Again, the 25% military and senior discount. And the first year is a savings from the current contract, although the second year goes up almost 12%, and then it's a 5% increase
How
from
does
there
that
on.
happen? That's
Yeah,
my
we'll
only
just
que-
budget
that's-
accordingly. We'll make sure that.
That's a very strange thing. What was the reason behind that? Have you any idea?
Yeah, I'm trying to go with, we set our labor rates are basically set by New York State. And New York State has given us no guidance on what our labor is gonna be. The last update that we've had was February 1st, 2024. Our guys got a 5% increase just this past February. We have no guidance going forward, what our labor is gonna be. So we basically just looked at the last 20 years and what New York State has done. So they usually go a big increase and then maybe a little increase, a big increase, they've alternated that. But in the past 5 years, the benefit package that New York State is mandating has gone up $1 an hour every single year. So it's kind of been hit and miss with New York where they set the labor rates, and our labor cost is 70% of this contract. So the other 10%, another 10% of it is fuel, which
Of course.
2 years ago, March, we were paying $7.50 a gallon for diesel, and right now we're paying under $4. So that's volatile.
Bargain.
Yeah, it's
Who knows?
So we're experienced in this. We try and see what people have done in the past, and just try and model where we're going. Based on that, in our experience. So also the life of trucks. We've in the last couple of years we've invested in new equipment in Rybrook to make it a little more efficient. So we're able to lower the price year one, but figuring that we may have to do a couple more investments,
Going forward.
So the increased cost will cover that.
And I think if we average it, it averages out.
I'm just asking because it was
I know,
a
it's
it was a very
interesting.
bizarre.
It's very
contract.
interesting. Yes.
It's more, year one is more, we actually decreased year one. That's more of like, kind of, we did these prices 4.5 years ago. So 4.5 years ago, we kind of bet pretty close, but we actually said, well, we could probably decrease this a little bit to be competitive with other bidders, and, you know, that's why we dropped it year one, and then, you know.
Made up for the
increases
next
after.
year.
Right.
But we, you know, we're happy to be here. We have a great relationship with the staff in the town, and, you know, if you do get complaints, we like to hear about them, because we like to resolve them, so, you know, any event that, you know, somebody does get their stuff missed, we want to hear about it.
And one of the things we're able to do now, once we saw that the drop in price for the June 1st start, is we're able to get rid of all the street sweepings that we have up at the compost site. So now we have the bid and the amount in this bid for removal of the street sweepings, you know, they have to be taken off-site, and that's an expensive endeavor. So we're looking to wipe clean the pile of street sweepings that we have up there with that savings that we have.
Their price is cheaper than what I'm paying now, like $15 a ton.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's good. And again, the residents also, if they do get the backyard, and do you have any idea how many get that in Rybrook?
It's probably close to 200 residents.
200 residents pay for the backyard. It's a $5 a month savings for the first 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
We should send that out on a note. I don't think I was aware of that.
Any other questions?
No.
No?
Comments? Again, thank you for the service you've provided to Rybrook in the
It's nice
past.
to hear. We get a lot of complaints, you know, we're just, you know, we're there a minute too late sometimes, but it's people like their routines, but it's nice to hear compliments, so, you know, we appreciate it.
I don't mind the minute too late because it gives me time to get everything out. It's when I forget and
I
I'm
like
running
hearing the
and I'm running
trucks.
for the street.
I hear the trucks, and that's when I'm like, oh my God, I have to go.
People like their routines, and they don't like their routines broken, so we should
Right.
hear about it if it doesn't happen.
So you really hear about it if you get there early.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
that creates a whole other host of problems.
That's it.
Yeah, and I don't.
Motion and a second. So you just-
Yeah. All right.
So
Oh,
moved.
good. I think we already had.
Yes.
Did you vote?
Yeah.
No, we have
didn't
not
vote.
voted, but
We
we
have a
already
motion
did the
and
motion
second.
second.
Motion.
Yes.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. All right. Resolution number 4. Considering reallocation of capital projects, closing of capital projects, and modifying capital projects.
All about capital projects.
All about capital projects. How many times can
I'm
I
not
say
going to
that?
sit here, I don't think, and go through each one of these
Please
transfers. But what I will say is, this is basically us where we were short on some capital projects, moving some closed balance, some minor balances, and some to pay for other ones where we were need additional funds, like the police body worn camera replacement. We need additional funds there. So some of these are just closing out balances in other accounts. I'll read the resolved, and I think it's self-explanatory. Now therefore be it resolved that the following transfer between capital projects is approved, provide additional funding for the police body-worn cameras, the general foreman truck, and the replacement of tablets in the police vehicles. And be it further resolved that the following capital project budgets are restated. So that basically is just putting the additional funding into the body-worn cameras and tablets account. And be it further resolved, the following capital projects with no remaining balances are closed and removed from the capital project length schedule. And this is basically closing out the list of projects that are included in the resolution. And be it further resolved that the following capital projects funded through debt obligations be closed and the remaining balances be returned to the debt service fund. And that's the highway dump truck with a balance of $110. It goes back to the debt service fund. And be it further resolved that the NRCS Recovery Capital Fund project be modified to reflect the receipt of federal grant funds from the NRCS filed for the appraisal services and the market data brochure. So the bottom ones, you're going to see this as this project continues because we have to advance funds
Right.
and then return the funds. So you have to increase revenues, increase our appropriations. It ends up being a net zero. We've got the funds already, but we're going to see this as this project continues every time we get
created
it.
that line in a
Yep, we created
previous
the account.
meeting,
Yep.
right.
Be it further resolved, the following capital projects be modified to reflect the receipt of New York State highway aid reimbursement. So we got highway aid in, so we have to modify the accounts for that. And be it further resolved, the following transfer between capital projects be hereby approved, and that's for road resurfacing. This is basically moving everything just forward to a 2024 project fund. So we have it all in one place. And be it further resolved that the following capital project with zero remaining balances be closed and removed from the project length schedule, and that's the old project road resurfacing project, which was just above it, moved into the 2024 line. Any questions?
One more, right?
No, that's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay, I see it. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Luckily,
Are you gonna ask a question while you-
through my history on this board, I've never had to question what you and Trish do.
We're keeping everybody out of trouble.
And I know, and thankfully, because I am no CPA and I have a lot of this is, and I understand that it has to be done, and this is great, and it's part of why year after year we receive a very low score on our stress test. And,
That's right.
And our audit comes back clean.
And that's it. And that's why you try to close. You'll see this type of resolution this time of year because we're trying really hard to close capital projects because auditors don't like to see a lot of open projects that have been funded in the past. So you want to close each one out as best you can. And that's why you're seeing those lists out.
I do understand. I do have a question.
Yeah.
What's going on with all the body-worn camera replacements? Why do we need so many?
I'll let the police chief
What's going on?
answer that one.
Camera for each police officer.
Yeah. So how often do we replace them?
We've had these cameras since 2016, and they're being sunsetted by the company. So
I just feel like we've just paid for them.
no, well, we had so they're sunset. They're being sunsetted by the company, so they're going to no longer will be covered by the warranty contract. They do break, you know, and this company has a very good warranty contract with the replacement of cameras. And you know, rather than have a camera break and then unable to purchase a new one because they're no longer being manufactured, we have to move to this new system.
And we already had approved a capital project for this. This is just some additional funds to be able to do
And we also
more.
have a $60,000
Grant,
grant. from
that's right.
DCGS.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then that makes a lot more sense. Okay. God, I just thought
Good answer,
I just thought that was a good answer. I like that answer.
Never mind.
Never mind.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And certainly, as anyone who's been on this board a while knows, we really do what we can to try and support our police force.
Oh,
here.
of course. I wasn't
it's-
questioning that.
yeah.
It's just
No, I
I thought that we just funded something like that, but now I see that it was just okay.
It just seems
But
like
you saw,
yesterday.
well, you probably saw it in our capital, from our capital project. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our capital funds.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 5, considering modification of the fiscal year 23-24 general fund adopted budget.
I hope this is the last we hear about this Pontiac GTO.
Yeah, what's going on?
Therefore, be it resolved that the fiscal year 2023-24 general fund adopted budget is modified to record seized asset forfeiture proceeds on the 2004 Pontiac GTO that was awarded to the Village of Rybrook on December 2023 as follows, and it was for $9,400. As we know, those dispersed to several locations, the county and others that are required to get it for seized assets like that. Be it further resolved that the adopted budget is modified to reflect insurance recovery funds as a result of flood damage in December 23 on the Village Hall building interior and exterior outside the rec department to be used for repairs as follows, and that's $12,006.19. Be it further resolved that the fiscal year 2024 adopted budget is modified to correct the accounting code change due to the reporting requirements under GASB. Statement 87 leases as follows, and that's to transfer from lease revenues and increase into lease revenues and decrease the cell tower lease. Basically, that's saying the cell tower lease has to come out of appropriations in that account. It has to be put into the lease revenue account, not a cell tower revenue lease account. And be it further resolved that in fiscal year 23-24, the following general fund transfer be approved, and that's the designated for capital funds balance moved over and is increased, and the designated for fund balance is decreased. So that was what was planned in the budget.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I just figured the GTO was on there again because Michael's still showing off how much he got for that.
And I'm stuck with Ronnie and the Daytonas singing Little GTO in my head.
All right. Again, another piece of housekeeping.
Yep.
And again, the reason why our audit comes back clean every year because of the great job of everyone in the finance department now.
Mhm.
Any questions or comments?
No.
Okay.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 6. Considering setting a public hearing for April 9th, 2024 on the 24-25 tentative budget.
Now therefore be resolved that the public hearing will be held by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook on Tuesday, April 9th at 7:30 p.m., which will include opportunities for interested members of the public to provide written and oral comments regarding the proposed 2024-2025 tentative budget for the Village of Rybrook. And be it further resolved that the notice of public hearing shall state the time, place, purpose of the hearing, and a copy of the tentative budget is available in the office of the village clerk for inspection during regular business hours and posted on the website at rybrook.org.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So
So,
moved.
second.
It is absolutely that time of year again, and,
Yes, it is.
the budget was given to us on last Wednesday, and
And it's
well,
available on the website.
I'm not gonna say anything because I know during the administrator's report there's gonna be some highlights on it, but for anyone who is interested in the public to speak on the 9th, but also to come to our open workshops, our budget workshops on April 1st and April 8th. We would certainly love to see you there. Any questions or comments? This is setting the public hearing for the budget.
No
All
comments.
right.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. I forgot what number I'm on here. Resolution number 7. Considering modifying the date of a village board meeting in April, which the resolution is incorrect. About
Yep. Okay.
because of my
Sorry. Whereas a regular scheduled meeting for April 23rd falls on the Jewish holiday of Passover, and whereas the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees wishes to modify the date of the April 23rd, 2024 meeting to avoid conflicting with the holiday, now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby modifies the meeting date on April 23rd so that it will be held on April 24th, 2024.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry that I did this.
Oh, it's quite all right. I will
What?
get.
Well, I know the 23rd doesn't work for most of us. And the 24th is, I think, we'll at least have we'll have at least 3 or 4 of us. All right. Okay.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 8, considering approval of the minutes for the meeting held on October 24th, 2023.
Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the minutes for the meeting held on October 24th, 2023.
Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, administrator's report.
1 second to catch up.
Yeah. Are you going to go on the screen or?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, this isn't. That's on the 9th.
Okay.
Tonight is a very brief overview, as required by village law. So this is just a very brief, kind of more high-level overview of the budget. Going through it, the tentative budget was filed on Wednesday, March 20th, as required by village law. It's now the village board's budget. For the second year in a row, we offer the budget as a digital budget book through ClearGov. So if you go to our website, you'll see a banner at the top that will bring you right to the ClearGov page. And it's really meant to be more transparent, more interactive. More information is on there about prior budgets and histories, about the accounts, and all about the village. Budget work sessions with departments are scheduled for Monday, April 1st and Monday, April 8th at 6 o'clock here at Village Hall. The budget hearing is now going to been set for April 9th, and then the budget has to be adopted by May 1st, or the tentative budget becomes the budget. So an overview of the budget, again, we always kind of have 4 clear goals we say every year: keep the taxes as low as possible, provide quality services, reinvest in our infrastructure, and maintain fiscal stability. So I think we accomplished that in this year's budget again. The tax levy is a $19.4 million budget on the levy, and that's a 3.86 increase, which is below the tax cap. We're about 11,000 below the tax cap. We could have gone to about 3.92. It's the 12th time in 13 years that the tax cap has been in existence that we've been under the tax cap. Total operating budget is about 25.7 million, and it has a 1.16 million in capital projects, so that makes the total budget 26.88. Good news, our assessed value for the village is up. That's a good thing for Rybrook, both on the commercial and residential side. So we're up about $249 million in value. That's almost 7.6% increase. So that's a good thing. It shows healthy. Our property values are going up. The homestead's up about $233 million, and the non-homestead's up about $16 million over the prior year. So again, 2 positive signs. In terms of staffing, total full-time positions goes up by 1 position to 76. There's the elimination of the senior rec position, which was a retirement earlier in the year. That's Janice, as we know, retired. And the addition of a police officer and a laborer position. It's heavy on capital again, about 1.28 million in capital, with the largest being road resurfacing and sewers. That's our basic infrastructure we need to make sure that we continue to maintain. It's kind of the lifeblood of the infrastructure, is maintaining the roads and the sewers. Average home in Rybrook is $995,130, and that taxpayer would pay about $5,000 per year in village taxes, and it's about a $167 increase over the prior year. Some of the positives in the budget generally, there's a strong fund balance again. We reinvest in our infrastructure. We're fiscally sound. We have a AA1 bond rating. We have a 0 fiscal stress monitoring. So we just got the announcement from the state saying they evaluated our fiscal stress system, and we got a 0, which is as low as it could be. Concerns start at 45. That's when it comes to a warning or a concern. With the lean, hardworking staff, we have a great staff here that works and does their best to really provide great services to the village. Interest earnings is up very significantly because of the interest rates, so that's a positive sign, help offset some of the other losses that we had. And obviously we have the SRO in the Portchester High School and Middle School through the police department. That's a big program, and the additional police position is largely going to be covering those 2 schools. Not that person, but the need for an additional to backfill it. Concerns that we have is still that we have that differentiating rate, still the pretty big difference in rates between the homestead and the non-homestead. That's still a concern. We need to get more homestead values into the village, but there's a lot of positive signs coming with the developments that are out there. So those were good signs. The interest rates and inflation is also leading to higher costs. Health insurance and retirement is again, really, really high. Retirement is for the biggest groups that have it. It's for the employees system, it's 17.8 cents on the dollar, and for the police and fire, it's 34.8 cents on the dollar. So that's a big piece of our cost. Commercial redevelopment looks promising, but isn't yet progressed. But we see things that are bright on the horizon, and as a result, our building revenues have been kind of flattening. So we haven't seen that. We look forward to working with the board so you can complete the budget and get it adopted by May 1st. That's it for the budget part.
Great. Anything else? Yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
a couple other quick things. Well, I wanted to announce that we're going to have the free hot dogs and Major League Baseball opening day event at Pine Ridge, but I don't think the weather looks like it's very promising for Thursday, so it's very likely going to be canceled.
We won't run out of hot dogs.
No, we won't. We weren't going to this year for sure. Again, we mentioned about the fiscal stress monitoring. The airport also, our Airport Master Plan Task Force had their first meeting yesterday, and it was a very good meeting. We have representatives from 7 different communities, which I think is pretty unusual to get that kind of a task force with 7 communities all trying to work together, find commonalities, find some shared goals that we can express and work with, and give some voices to the county on any concerns on the master plan and the terminal use agreement. And also, as the mayor said, and I mentioned before, April 1st and April 8th, we have the budget workshops. And Arbor Day is the end of next month, but we're going to have a very special day where we can recognize Ashley Weldy. And we've been working with the town of Rye and the Blind Brook School District so that we can have all 3 groups really working together to have a nice recognition for Ashley Weldy and her family.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Any other questions, comments from the board?
I have one.
Yes, please.
I would like to congratulate trustee Susan Epstein on her resounding victory over
Yes.
trustee David Heiser.
Yes, and I would congratulate both of you who were newly re-elected to the board for another term of 3 years. Why we continue to do this to ourselves is beyond me, but
It's because it's the right thing to do.
it is. And we thank you for volunteering your time.
I can answer your question as to why. Inertia.
And and just thank you for volunteering, continuing to volunteer your time. Those of us who sit up here know that it's, that it's a lot of work that we put into doing this.
Yeah, but we get
And
that
it's-
T-shirt every summer.
and it's solely out of love for our shared community that we
Absolutely.
do it. And thank you for both of you, what you continue to bring to the board, and I look forward to continuing to serve with you.
Likewise, we do it so we can have this camaraderie and have a wonderful village administrator and staff that we love working with. We're very pleased to be part of it. But I also want to say that anybody, and really anybody who would like to volunteer, we need you. We want you to join us. Please be a part of your community.
Yes, and
join
to
us.
that end, at our next meeting, we go through the boards and commissions, which we discuss in our executive session, and we are always looking for volunteers and would love people to come out and help.
It's a great team all around, that's for sure. And the office starts officially the first Monday in April, so we'll have to have a swearing-in
right.
ceremony, and we'll.
Cookies.
Yep. Another swearing-in ceremony, and the first Monday in April is when you take office, but we have a traditional,
Our
probably
first
before the
meeting.
next meeting in
Wait,
April.
wouldn't that be when we have our budget discussion is the first
You
Monday?
could do that. We'll
You're
have
right.
we're gonna have you sign the oath book that day, but
Yeah.
there'll be another signing
We'll
on
do
on
an
the first
official.
meeting.
We'll do the official event where you go up there and everything. We'll
On
do that
April 8th.
on the 9th.
9th, April
On
9th.
the 9th.
April 9th, okay.
And I should have mentioned earlier too about early voting is going on too at Rybrook Firehouse. So just a reminder, if you can go on the county's website. I think I sent out the list of dates too, that you have it on the email blast. And basically anyone who's a registered voter and any of the parties can go and vote at any location anywhere in Westchester County. It doesn't have to be your designated polling place for early voting.
Thank you, Chris. Greg?
Just real quick, just before I mention what I was going to say, congratulations again to Trustee Epstein Heiser. It's been my pleasure to work with you last couple
Those are
of
two distinct names. It's not Epstein Heiser.
But all seriously, it's been a pleasure working with the two of you last couple of years. I look forward to continuing to do so in the future. I did just run real quick also. We had our Easter egg hunt today, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh, how was it?
That was about 2 minutes. Both we had the kindergartners and the first and second graders. I got there late. At 4:31, the kindergartners were already done.
They're fast.
They go after those eggs.
And then within the first and second graders, a similar story there. But a nice job to our parks. And
Takes a
Recs.
few days to set up and
Was
20
there a
seconds to get
How
it
was the
done.
turnout? How was the turnout?
It was very good.
Oh,
We
good
had
turn.
Several
Good.
dozen kids, but there was, I think, Kathy told me about 3 days it took to prepare that. And as the administrator said, with about 20 seconds, maybe even less, it was all gone. But the main thing, guys, I just want to mention is that I know you guys are all aware of this. And I did post it, but just to reiterate, we did have our 2 employees who got very well-deserved recognitions. One of them is in the room, Michael Nowak, who got a Roadmaster Board of Certification, 7th in the state. Yeah, he's putting a lot of work into that. He's also training other superintendents. So I just wanted to give him, as well as our Senior Center Coordinator Liz Rothfeld, her recognition. She got honored by the County Board of Legislators for Women's History Month, so we're very proud of both of them. And we're
yeah, I saw
definitely
that.
very lucky to have the two of them, as well as all of our other amazing village staff. So I just wanted to make that point.
Great, thank you. Any comments from the public? Seeing none. The next special meetings of the Board of Trustees, we have our budget sessions on April 1st and 8th. And then the next regular meeting for the Board of Trustees will be on April 9th. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Just quickly, I just want to.